All right, so thank you for being here. I'm just going to kick this off and get going. This is a part of our Women in the Bicycle Industry event. We've been hosting these monthly in order just to bring women in the industry together, hoping that our stories inspire each other and that we're forming some friendships so that we can continue on. I'm joined here with NBDA Development Director, Rochelle Scouten, who's like my partner in crime. Rochelle, do you have some just, I don't know, housekeeping on the tech side of today?
Sure. We just want to say, this is being recorded because we have people who are working in a shop and can't turn on Zoom. So we want them to be able to feel like part of it, that they can learn from us as well. So we're recording it. We'll share it afterward. If you have background noise, we ask that you mute yourself, just basic stuff like that. I think that's about it.
Awesome. Yeah, and nice to see Stacy. Because it is a little bit of a smaller crowd tonight. You can, if you have questions, just throw your hand up, your chat up, or put a chat, a note in the chat, and we'll get to them as we go along. So we're just gonna kind of keep going on here. Let's go on. So today's guest is Tamara Sanders. She is the manager at the Clean Machine in Carrboro, North Carolina. So 22 years at the shop, and as manager, her focus has been on building up the cycling community. I got to connect with her, I don't know, maybe like a month ago, and learn about some of the things she's done. And I was like, you have to come and do a Women in the Bicycle Industry event. So here we are. She has done so much, and her collection of bike fun spans from designing a Freedom from the Training Wheels camp to creating a youth mountain biking camp, chairing an advocacy organization locally, and helping organize, I think, the second annual North Carolina Bicycle Summit. So she's going to just take us through a little bit of her role and how she got to where she is. She's also in grad school right now while working full-time at the shop. Like, come on already with that. That's crazy. So we want to just have her give a little bit about her journey and why she loves being in the industry. And then maybe, some of her path might inspire you. So I'm just going to kind of throw it over. Tamara, hello, how are you?
Hi.
Yay. And we're letting her share her screen because she's at the shop tonight. So we're really looking forward to hearing more about you and your role at the store manager. And I'm just going to let you kind of take the reins from here.
Okay. So hey, I'm Tamara, rhymes with camera. And yeah, as Heather was saying, I've been at the shop for a while. And I started when I was in college as my brother worked in a bike shop. My dad was really excited about biking. And Performance Bicycle was started also, technically it started in the other half of this building. But he got a catalog from Performance Bike and he was like, oh, maybe you should go work there. Some friends of ours told us that lived here that they're like, no, you need to go to the Clean Machine. And so I came to Clean Machine. I told them that they needed a women roadie to work here. And the owner, Scott, was like, okay, you're hired. And fill out this piece of cardboard with your name and number, and we'll get back to you. So we're like literally no experience, was just like enthusiastic. You need a woman to work here. And that was it. And so lots of stuff has happened in 22 years. So that was when I was in college. I did graduate from here. So this is UNC Chapel Hill. Tried to move back to Asheville, moved back here. And I realized that a bit later, it was the community that brought me back, which is a super wonderful biking community. Carrboro is a silver level bicycle friendly community. If y'all are familiar with the League of American Bicyclists bicycle friendly community program, it's a really densely populated area of North Carolina, and then proximity to the university, lots of people biking. This area has lots of commuters. There's mountain bike trails within town, so we've got a lot of people mountain biking. Also, the town is designed that there is what they call a rural buffer, which means that development, or kind of more densely development, is only to a certain area, and then intentionally it's rural. So there's also lots of road riders. So it was really cool because I got to see and connect with everybody from college students, grad students, families with kids, road bikers, mountain bikers, racers, enthusiasts. And then now, like, which has been really cool is now with the onset of e-bikes, the population age has grown. So I feel like I've been able to connect with loads of different people. And let's see. So if you haven't noticed, the community is hugely important to me. If I could spend all my time out of the shop and out in the community getting more people, not, eventually they'll make it here, but that's, I get to connect with them when they come to, what I call like my house, the shop, but also it's super fun to be out connecting with them and showing them new routes and stuff around the town. Well, let's see. So stuff that I've done, Heather did touch a bit on the stuff I did out in the community. We've always, like, at every opportunity, I'm like, yes, ride support. If I don't know how to do a thing, I'll figure it out. That's what I love about bikes, is that they are so accessible. They'll tell you if you're doing something right or wrong. And I always start with if you're going to try something, let the person that I'm working with be like, hey, I'm not positive if this is the right thing. I can try it. Do you want me to? Which, funny, generally out on a ride, like, some of these charity rides, they'd be like, yes, do it. Like, anything's going to be better than this. So a lot of trial by error, but like safe error and forewarned error. But mostly all have turned out beautifully. Let's see. In terms of, so I started managing for one of our other stores, the one that was closer to campus, in 2006. So I started in 2006. I was like, yeah, if you hang out somewhere long enough, they'll put you in charge, which is, yeah, what happened. And learned loads about there, but then the managerial position came back open here at the Clean Machine. So let's see, let me back up. So our company owns 5 stores across the Triangle area of North Carolina. All the others are the bicycle chain, and which I never connected with quite as much, because it was they're all a little more similar, where Clean Machine is kind of like redheaded stepchild, flagship store, black sheep. Like, I like to say the flagship store because we were the first one. We opened in 1972. But we're also the weird one, which I feel like matches what I want to do, bring more personality to the store and not be like everyone else. And so I got to do that more here. So of course, when that job came open, I was like, yes, back to the Clean Machine. And so steadily have learned, I feel like in terms of my staff, I initially tried working like, all right, they've all got to be like me, which is weird, but also, tidy and have to do things right, and have lots of go get 'em attitude, and realize that not everyone is like me, that can create some challenges. And then, which some of the stuff that I've been really like putting more into experience with the connecting to my grad school is connecting with people where they are, and giving them the opportunity to self-actualize, to bring their whole self to work, because I know I do, and I realize what a difference that's made for me. So I've worked really hard to allow, sometimes it's been challenging with the owners, but allow people to bring their whole self to work, and have actually, it's been awesome. So having done this kind of with this, like, what works for me, what doesn't work for me, like, what would I like to see better? Here's something, a space where I'm in, here's what was challenging. How can I both support my other staff, as well as how can I be supported within it? And I use this model with everyone through this, since 2006, learned kind of better steps to get to this. But man, oh man, when it was the pandemic hit, we stayed open. That was difficult. And there was lots of like, hey, this isn't working for me, but man, I am so glad that I learned all those lessons before going into that. Let's see. Other stuff. So had kind of thinking into this today. I was thinking about like, I do feel like I look at everything in terms of connection, relationships, community. And I realized that I've done this with, obviously guests coming in. I've done this with my staff, but also sounds kind of weird, but more it's through the people that represent them for the inventory as well. So that's something I feel like I've heard Heather talk a lot about. Going to this is like, we're all in this together. And my reps and I all have really great relationships. If I've got a challenge, like connect with them, let them know, like, again, what works for me, like what's challenging, what I might need for support from them. And similarly, again, like I don't want them to only bring one aspect of them to their job. Like I want to hear about like what they're doing in their life, like challenges they're having, like what's awesome and fun. Because I feel like we're all inspired by that. All right, that was a lot. Maybe some questions or a question. If anyone has one, and then I can take a sip of water and answer.
Anyone have any questions? I'm loving to hear your story. It's so awesome and relatable, and it's awesome. Anyone have any questions for her as she's going through here? We have an engaged audience, but no one has any questions yet, so I think you have to keep rolling on.
I have a question.
Oh, there we go.
As somebody new just getting into the industry, what are some like tips that you wish you would have known back when you started? Or
Awesome. I love because I've recently had 5 women in the past year and a half. Actually a few more than that. So some was going through the pandemic. I didn't know what was going to happen to us. So when I hired people, or when we were looking to bring them in, I did a couple of things. One, I was like, I don't know how long, we're going to be really busy. I don't know at what point stuff's going to shut off. And this was what I would look for as somebody going in is when I set stuff up, we do an interview, kind of quick one over the phone. I bring them in and we do an interview in person. And then if we both feel like that's a good match, I talk in that sort of language, because I know that everyone's coming from their own place and what works for them. There's a lot of stuff in the shop that it may be a completely different working environment than a lot of other jobs out there. But I feel like these next two things made a huge difference. Was if they don't offer, ask for a trial day. And I may be jumping ahead, so there's some other stuff, but basically what that does is it's almost a non-committal, like a date. Come work, come see what the shop's like. It takes the pressure to perform and really just connect. On those first days, I'm like, here's how the phone works. You are the main greeter for phone. You're the main greeter for people. It is okay. You don't know the answers to everything. That's really critical, is being super honest up front, preemptively telling people like, I don't know, but I'm going to find out. But I'm going to make sure that like, you're good, you're taken care of, you're having fun. Those are the things that I would say to the guests coming in. And really set an upfront, like, hey, I don't, if you haven't worked at a shop before, like, I don't know what to expect. I'm not going to have all the answers, but I'm here to have fun. I'm here to make sure that the people I'm working with are having fun. I'm here to make sure that the people coming in the shop are having fun, because that's really like what the bike world's about. And So I think that if you go kind of before even the interview stage, you know, I meet some people that come into the shop that are like, I want to work here. I mean, that's what I did. I came in the shop and I'm like, I heard you need a female roadie to work here. So here I am. And I knew the owners, so I knew who the owner was. So I knew who to talk to. But I feel like that confidence, kind of not that confidence, like I know everything confidence, but that confidence of like, I'm comfortable throwing myself out there. I'm comfortable not knowing. I'm comfortable like identifying what is a safe mistake. But I'm comfortable taking those risks. And I always tell people like, stay 2 steps ahead of who you're working with if you can. And at the point that you're not, instead of getting stressed about it, like identify you don't know and then turn them over, be like, all right, cool. Like this might be the point at which I can't help you anymore, but let me get you to someone who can. And then, so either walking in, telling someone at the shop, I want to work here, here's why. But if you don't have that opportunity and it's via an application, that's an awesome thing to communicate. And, you know, I'm very responsive to when I have people that are putting on their application, like, you know, I'm a woman, and I know that the bike world needs a lot more people that aren't traditionally represented in the bike world to work. And to be able to connect with those people coming in. I like, that's a great way to present yourself. And then the other part was, again, your enthusiasm. I mean, I feel like there's so much about the bike world right now that online versus offline. So offline being kind of the brick and mortar retail, local bike shops. That is totally what we have over all these online retailers. Like, we're not going to compete on price and, you know, sometimes even availability. But sure as heck, like, I know we can offer way more local wisdom and community than any online could ever do. Does that answer your question?
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
You're welcome. Also, if you speak Spanish, that's definitely, we have a growing Spanish population here. And that has totally been like, as I'm cruising through applications, I'm like, oh yes, awesome. Like, you know, it is amazing being able to have the ability to connect with that community. Because otherwise without it, like I feel like we were barely satisfying their needs and they were barely asking or barely telling us what their needs were. So now it's been great.
Tamara, you're rocking this. You're awesome.
Can you see these awesome jerseys that we have behind us?
I love the landscape one with the mountains. I think it's awesome.
But I'm gonna show you. So this is so I have one employee, and that's the other thing that, like, you know, self-actualization is it means lots of things, but I feel like one of the aspects that is like some sprinkles on top is when I let staff, you know, kind of shine. Yeah, we've got, you know, you can see like we've got uniforms, but shine their personality and creativity in places that enhance the store. So can you see this little guy? So that was one of my coworkers, Olivia. She and one of my other staff members, Landis, would draw little doodles and also origami. Like, I'd have origami competitions. So when I was designing this jersey, I was like, I'll just snag that and put it on the back. And if I was in her position, I feel like that would mean so much to me. And it's awesome. It's really fun to find that on the back of a jersey. So can I see? Oh yeah, back to gallery view. Hey, Jessica. Well, this is awesome. Where, so other people that are joining this call, what, so it sounds like one of y'all, and I didn't get to see which one, is looking to get into the bike industry. And then, Brenda, it sounded like you were doing marketing. Is that right?
Yes, I'm both getting into the industry and doing marketing. I kind of approached my local bike shop a few months ago. Hey, do you need some help? A lot of the bike club that I'm in, they're like, Brenda, you should really go help Moab. And I'm kind of in job transition, and now I'm just deciding to go full time with them. And we've had some great conversations, and they're excited about it. They have 3 shops, and it's real. We have 1 female for all 3 shops. And so they really are excited about just the potential to grow that. And I'm really trying to grow just the female presence, but also just diversity. And you look at it, it's like your middle-aged white male. No, I shouldn't say. We have a few diverse employees, but it's new territory for both of us, or all of us. So I mean, they're all excited, but I'm also nervous and like, okay, what do I need to know? And I mean, he's like, I want you to help with marketing, but also human resources, and that I have a background in that too. So hiring, and so you talking about all the interview process, like that's so helpful, because that is everything I'm going to jump into. And then event planning, and I just helped put on Gravel Revival, which was a really successful gravel event. And that's what really, like, it was that just said, I want to do this. I love doing this. I love the community. I mean, it was just so over the top, but yet it was grassroots, and it was so like, everyone loved it. And so he wants to dabble in mountain biking and cross and road as well. So I'm a roadie as well, but I'm getting into gravel and do a little bit of mountain biking, but not a lot. But yeah, so I'm really excited. I mean, I just love this kind of stuff, and seeing all these females here, like I'm just like, I love it.
That's really awesome. I feel like I kind of touched base a little bit on, like, not really, like, but this idea of almost like, can we be a shop mascot? I mean, there's loads more that we do, but like being the personality that goes out into the community and connects, and that's super fun in and of itself. But then it is like, you kind of tie this organization along, so then when people come back, like, they've got this shop, but it's like, Brenda works here. I want to talk to Brenda. Or other times that you'll have people that come to the shop that I don't own the shop, I manage it. I mean, I've managed it again for a while, but I've had people that I've never met that come in and they're like, oh my God, I'm so glad a woman works here. Or like, I only wanted to come to this shop because a female owned it. And I was like, well, I'll have to tell you I don't, but I get to make loads of the decisions that will affect you. And it's, in terms of kind of that step into diversity, we're a partner with this one organization called Triangle Bike Works, which is like, they've got just such a beautiful mission with working kind of, ideas of restorative justice, working with youth of color. And they'll take them on, around town rides, but they've got like a 2-week tour over the summer that's generally educational. They've done stuff with, they went on the Underground Railroad tour, a tour with the Gullah Geechee culture, kind of in South Carolina and Alabama. And I was talking to him about this, and I feel like, so when I started working at the shop, I remember conversations in the NBDA of like, we have to do things differently for women. We have to have a women's section, like we have to have a women's clothing area. Is there some way to set up this women's area to where when women come in, that they can see this place is also for them? Which is like, there's similar conversations now with a BIPOC community, except for it's it's much more difficult. Like it, there was that also during that era, the bikes were like pink it, shrink it's. Like if you aren't familiar with that term, it was like, you can make a women's bike by making it pink and making it smaller than all the others. And so luckily we've gotten away from that phase. And now to even tell you, like now we don't identify, at least here, and it seems like the bike world's starting to do more of that, not identify bikes as like with the step over or the step through frames as women's bikes anymore. They're just step through, which now it's great because an older fellow can come in who's got limited hip flexibility and he doesn't have to worry about being on a girl's bike anymore. But there is in that conversation of like learning how to make bike shops inclusive for women. What are some lessons that we can learn to how to make bike shops inclusive for, people who aren't white? So all the rest of this, is a huge population of people that we're not working with. But again, you can't make, it doesn't fit in the same way as making a women's bike or a women's clothing area. So it really comes down to how you connect with people. Which the cool thing about this is if you realize and really do the homework and really practice and really put your whole self into there, and bring your whole self to work and present your whole self in as you're helping guests coming in the shop and allow them to do the same, then we're learning awesome lessons that work much better for everybody. So it's been a neat journey. I think that through that aspect, I started thinking through a lot of these thoughts in terms of like, how do I connect with people? And really like, not just, hey, how are you? But like, when people come in, like, thanks for coming in. I'm Tamara. And so now we're working off of names. And it really is kind of neat. I mean, this is actually like some stuff that I'm looking at in grad school is this realm of what some people have called cultural intermediaries. Super awesome kind of aspect and idea, but essentially we are this person that both, it's an in-between role of a producer and a consumer. And right now I'm using language that I don't typically use because I generally eschew from like the capitalistic language because that's not as fun to talk in. But essentially it's someone who is we also use what we are working with and helping people with. So we understand this culture, this bike culture and what it does, which the bike is, yes, a product, but it's a gateway to this, as we know, an amazing experience. And so how do we connect and kind of lead somebody through that journey where they don't know exactly what they want to consume, but that's tied to a product. But how do we gently guide them through that isn't a reminder that we're a salesperson and they're a customer, which that's actually like one of the things that I'm like, we're going to recontextualize that relationship really quick. We're going to call you, if anything, not telling this to them, but you're a guest and I'm your guide. And it's really funny, like watching people go through this. They have one notion. If they don't know me or the shop, they come in and they're trying to do this. And sometimes they'll remind me and like try to like, bring up money or like this power, kind of subtle power that they have because they have money. And I have a business that needs money. And I'm like, no, we're getting rid of that context. Instead, you're a guest and I'm your guide and you're having an experience. And we want to make sure that both of us, that you're having an awesome one. So now how can I help you out?
Oh my God, I am so resonating with everything you're saying and I love your message and I'm just totally stoked on it. It's not just saying, hello, how can I help you? It's truly connecting. And I saw, Jillian, were you trying to say something? I saw you unmuted and then muted again.
Yeah, I was just trying to say we almost have the opposite problem because we're all female bike shop, all our employees are females, and we identify more with our female customers. So we almost had the opposite issue where men, were having trouble like saying, it's okay, man, you can come in. We sell men's bikes and you can ask us for help. And, so, of what you were saying, it was funny because our case is the exact opposite of your case. But yeah, it's an interesting dynamic because both our head mechanics are both females, and people have said, like they're just so much better at explaining the issue. Or if someone, a lot of times you get someone coming into the store who, can you pump up my tires? And we're like, okay, well, let me show you how to do it. So next time you know how to do it. And, we're a very educational type shop. We do a lot of clinics and try to educate. I would say, I guess it is more geared towards women, educate women and not have to feel like, they have to count on their boyfriends to fix a flat or their, significant other. I mean, that's a stereotype, but, in a lot of cases, that's the case. So that's what I was going to say, because I was just sort of like, we're almost at the opposite, because we do have a lot of women's accessories and, but we have some men's stuff as well. But anyway, that was it.
Oh, that's such a good ad. I wasn't even thinking that, but yeah, being a women specific shop, of course, like people just want to come in and visit, and some people might not even think, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I love this sense, which I do too, the sense of empowerment. And I feel like that's what I'm going back to grad school for, is experiential and outdoor education. And so I'm like, whoa, that's like, I didn't even know something existed like that. So finding out what is the experience and how do we learn and how do we know and why does it matter and what do we do with it? Yeah, exactly. If you just air someone's tire up, now they rely on you or another person every time they need that, which the beauty of the bike is it's a utilitarian thing. Like it is a gateway to an experience that, pretty much anybody can do and have access to. And it's the parts of the bike, unless we're considering like some of the DI2 and getting really technological in here, but like for the most part, most bikes are super accessible.
I had a couple come in, and the woman came in, she said, which, I don't know which pump to use. And then she's like, oh, I'm just gonna let my boyfriend do it. Come outside. And she went outside to get her boyfriend. And I went outside and I said, you stay here. I'm going to show her how to do it. So I made her do it.
Good. I have to tell you a short little story about this. I feel like in terms of that recontextualization of customer salesperson and then guide and guest that I did, like there was this couple that came in. The fellow was tall, very, very muscular, tight shirt, had a definitely a very bodybuilder look. And the female counterpart was small. She wasn't overly athletic looking body. And she stood kind of diminutively. And I'm 5'2", she was taller than me, but I felt like she felt like she was shorter than me, if that makes any sense. And so I started, I introduced myself. I'm asking them what they're looking for. And he starts answering the questions. And he's like, she wants this. She's doing this. So he already had a bike, a non-electric bike. And they were looking at getting her an electric bike so she could go out with him. And so on the third question that he answered for her, and I'm looking at her during this whole time, asking her these questions. I'm like, all right, I need to ask a question that he can't answer. And so I turned her and I was like, how do you feel when you do blah, blah, blah? And like, how do you feel like when you're doing something fun outside, how do you feel about it? And I could see him like start to go answer the question, And he couldn't. So I was like, yes. And then I asked her another question like that, like one that she would have to answer and he could not by any means. And I saw it was almost like this, like the air got electrified and it was this zap in his brain because he had some body movement. And then all of a sudden he was like, I need to go to the car and get something. And what I saw was there was this pattern of behavior in his brain that now I stuck a roadblock and it didn't go all the way through. And I did it again. It didn't go all the way through and he had no idea what to do. So he left and I was like, now's my opportunity. And like, I'm doing all these things, like empowering her, like, here's these things. Again, how do you feel about this? Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Positive reinforcement. You got this, girl. And got her to where she was able to communicate truly and honestly what she was looking for, what she was feeling not awesome about, being not terribly confident because she wasn't going to be as fast as him. So I spent that time while he was out showing her all these things. So when she came back in, it was amazing. She was like, this is what I want. This is why. This is what I want to do. And it was so beautiful.
That's awesome. I love this story. I can see like everyone's smiling. Everyone's like, yes, way to go.
That happens more often than I'd like to care to talk about. It's awful. But anyway.
But you got to make that difference to those people. And it's, you know, again, it's so hard to go out and change the world. But if you can understand what you're doing, and be intentional about it and be able to communicate it, be able to share it, then more people will not only experience this or do this, but they will also think about it, which is, you know, something in terms of, this is kind of in grad school, something we've been looking at, something that's a difference between learning and then education is really that reflection part. So that ties it all together, puts it in context with the rest of your experiences, to where it is more likely that if that was a good lesson that you learned, that you will carry that and repeat or adapt it to another situation.
So are you going to stay in the bicycle industry? Like, is this like, do you want to open a store one day? What are do you know, like, what are your thoughts? Do you have any calling in that direction?
Man, I mean, for a long time, I've answered that question being like, man, I feel like I've got it pretty good that I can like do all these fun things that I want to do. And, you know, some are a little challenging. There is definitely some challenge if you are a manager, but you're not the owner. And so you're managing people, but also a subordinate. If, you know, generally everything in the bike world and retail is a hierarchy. So you're like playing this like middle person, which you simultaneously have to go back and forth between, you know, a leader and a subordinate. So that's difficult. But like, if you compare that with the fact that like, I can do this in most of the way that I want to do it. And, you know, I get to choose most of what we stock in the store. I definitely have loads and loads of autonomy with how do we connect with people. And I don't have to pay the bills. So that's, for a long time, that's been really nice. But yeah, I feel like, you know, as with lots and lots of people, that going through a challenging time of pandemic really makes you think like, I mean, I think I told you at the beginning, like we didn't close. I'm like, all right, so working with people in this stage where normally I get to be a yes person, like, yes, you know, you want this kind of experience? Absolutely, can make it happen. And so many people were coming in, they were like, I want this. And I was like, no. And they're like, why not? And then having to explain that to them. And they're like, well, can I order it? And I was like, no. And having to do all of this while navigating my own psychological state in this and simultaneously empathize with now what's been like loads of connecting and yes, and like I can help make that happen, to like I can't and I don't know how, was super challenging. So doing that for a long time, like I can go to grad school and work full time, like that was super challenging. Now like I can choose to be challenged in a higher way that I'm learning more and it's something I'm excited about, cool. So to answer long-windedly the question, like I don't know. I mean, I can already tell like how some of these things that I'm looking at in grad school, this cultural intermediary and sense of community. And I mean, there's studies to quantitatively tell you the level of sense of community. That's pretty neat. I mean, I've known qualitatively for a long time, but now we can put numbers to like how good it is. And so using all this, and I start telling people in the shop, guests coming in are like, this is what I'm doing. And I feel like that in and of itself, they're like, awesome community, let's talk about it. So it's, I don't know. I mean, I feel like this just keeps getting better. So, I mean, I also teach kids how to mountain bike, adults how to ride without training wheels, kids how to ride without training wheels. I've been giving bike maintenance lessons. All of those are like, my moonlighting activities that I'm getting compensated for as well. And it's like, could I make a full-time thing out of that? Maybe, yeah. See, Lori definitely shaking your head.
Well, Lori, you run
You could. I've been doing it for 20 years. You just
wait, did
throw
you,
your
Lori,
shingle
did
out.
you have an interview with Heather? Are you,
where
Lori hasn't, but Lori needs to come on and do this too. Lori's awesome.
No, I started coaching 20 years ago though. I started Velo Girls, which was one of the first women's cycling clubs in the US. And I had surgery yesterday on my face. So sorry if I sound like a dog or something.
You look great.
Thanks. But I've hustled. I mean, the bike industry is all about hustle. So doing all those things you've done, most of us who work in the bike industry do lots of things. And that's the safest way to work in the bike industry and the most fun, I think. So we're coaching and we're teaching, and I've repped for a clothing company for 10 years and I worked for Sea Otter for a couple of years, but all through that I've been a fitter and worked at shops and run this women's club and do a lot of stuff, and it's pretty cool. And I make my own life. So that's what's awesome, I think. So we can make what we want to do.
Making your own life is awesome. And why should anybody make your life? I'd love to connect, Lori, at some point and just kind of see like what that structure looks like. Because there is, I mean, I love being out in the community and networking and connecting people. I mean, we have a new bike delivery list, and it's like, give them their serial number, give them the owner's manual. The last item is connect them to outside groups. So it's like part of my training and part of the checklist that I get a part-timer like, all right, when you're delivering this bike, this is mandatory. And so to go out in the community and do that full time, so rad.
Well, when I started working at a shop and I had started this club, everything that we did was through the shop. That was how there was no Facebook or Meetup or anything 20 years ago. We posted on Craigslist and put flyers in bike shops. And so everybody who walked in the door got a flyer to do these clinics that we were teaching. And we did free stuff, we did paid stuff. So you can make those alliances, I think, and create opportunity. And that's where I think the bike industry fails new riders, is we're not teaching them. We're selling them a thing that's potentially dangerous or scary. And we don't even go on test rides with people. It's like, why are we doing that? Technology is different than when you were a kid riding your BMX bike, and you just send them out to the parking lot and they get to make a decision on a $5,000 purchase. So I think we fail a lot in the education side. It sounds like obviously the women are doing it. The men don't care. They don't get it. That's the challenge.
I need to chime in on this one because I'm hitting home on this one. I sat with a group of retailers last week. There was many men and 2 women in this conversation. And some men said they don't even do test rides. Test rides aren't even they don't even offer them anymore. It's like, buy the bike. And the women at the table were like, what do you mean you don't do a test ride? How do you ensure people are getting the right bike? And it got like a little heated. And then I was like, okay, I had maybe 2 glasses of wine, so I better step away. But
well, right now during the pandemic, there are no test rides because there's no bikes. I mean, we're
Right.
pre-fitting. That's most of what I do right now is pre-fit. So, but no, it's simple things. Like we try to sell people tubeless and we don't teach them what to do. How do you manage tubeless down the line? And then people hate it. They're like, oh, I got a flat, I can't change it. Well, you don't have to change it if someone taught you how to, you know, use a Dynaplug or just to spin the wheel and fill with sealant or change it every 3 months, whatever. There's just so much education, I think, that is missing.
I feel like one thing that has kind of, I mean, there's, so a lot of the people that are running shops, for the most part, are probably fellows that have grown up in bike shops, which a lot of the reason why we do things the way we do things is because that's the way they've always been done. And so I feel like challenging that in a complementary way. So both meanings of complementary. So like to go alongside as well as to, I see what you're doing, but I'm not gonna like slam you down for it. I'm gonna like keep you in place, but support you. So those two complementaries. But the other thing is like there's which Heather, in the bike cost of doing business, which this is something that like our two owners have really lockstep with, is that payroll should be 20% of your sales, which is now they reduce that to a number, which that's like, I totally agree. Like, I mean, that is, you know, if you are trying to do things based on number, like closing sales will happen much more assuredly if you accompany on a test ride and you take the time to educate. And not only like for that experience, but man, people will send people will tell their friends, and this is not like some, you know, some stories, like they'd be like, go see Lori or go see Brenda at the shop, like talk to her. She made a difference for me, which I quickly realized, like now I'm really busy at the shop because there's all these people that are trying to see me. But that does matter. But I remember like, you know, having putting faith in that, like I'm going to allow this employee to step outside of the shop. That means they won't be available to answer questions or phones or ring up people. And how to trust that that is a good investment or risk.
Of time.
I have often felt that there should be one employee of the shop that is just your ambassador. All they're doing is selling bikes, not selling in the term of selling, but selling the lifestyle, teaching people. Yeah. Good shops do that. And it's actually, I know a couple of people, I'm in the Bay Area, so we have a very large market here, obviously, Bay Area, California. And I know a couple of people who have worked at multiple shops doing just that thing, where they work multiple shops, not just affiliated with one shop. And they're the independent that comes in and teaches the classes, or they're the person that goes and leads the clinics and that kind of thing. But I'm also medicated, so if I'm mumbling, sorry. If you have a deviated septum, let me tell you, it's the worst surgery in the world. I just had it yesterday, and I crossed the corner today where I finally got to take the diaper off my face, and it's been awful. I haven't slept in 2 days, but I know. But now I can breathe. Well, in 2 weeks, I can breathe through my nose. So that's all you get right now.
Oh. So I feel like some of this conversation has kind of made me question, like, and I have for a while, you know, I know like again, what I say, recontextualizing customer salesperson relationship, like I've been actively working against like these capitalistic terms, and have, you know, and it's really fun to see this in grad school, because like from a formal education side, where like this capitalistic kind of hand has been placed in schools, and here's what it's happening because of it, and like all the testing and districting and like all this stuff, like it's detrimental. But starting to gather a language around this other realm. I mean, we're seeing this out, you know, even like the idea of bike industry, like, you know, it's an internal term, but that we use externally, which, you know, if I speak of bike industry to a customer, it reminds them that they are a wallet and I am product. So it's kind of putting me into an interesting mindset of like, what are other ways that we have like this idea? I mean, we are in a business, and here, like, we do need capital to make sure that we continue to be able to do our business. And sometimes if people are, guests coming to shop that are wanting to exist within that language, I remind them of like, if I give this to you at a much cheaper price, that means that I can't afford to pay my employees who are really here to support you. So having this one connecting language, like, again, like complementary language, but also developing this language that really helps, move this sense of community and community mindedness to something that really is not just like a single little blip of something that happens in our day, but it's like what our day is about. I think with that, I've started calling, the bike world or the bike field. I've been experimenting with terms. So
the bike life, but I was going to say it's true in every industry. I was in the entertainment industry in my first career, and it's the industry, right? Do you work in the industry?
Stacy, how's this connecting or feeling to you, or what are you thinking? It's nice to see you. I feel like we've spent most of the day together. I'm pretty stoked about that.
I know, right? Between the last 2 days, it's been a little crazy. I unfortunately am at work still, so I had to pop out for a little bit and kind of just caught the last little bit of what we were talking about, starting with the test rides and things. And it is something I battle with. I didn't come from bike land, bike life, bike world, bike, whatever. I came from retail. I was classically trained. I like to call it at the Gap. So like classically trained in retail at 15 at the Gap. So I'm old. And and I came from that, but I also, because I'm not from this world, don't have any of that preconceived idea, and really try and focus on what I think or I perceive our customers to need, want, have to have. It tends to be sometimes, and he's in the next room listening, a battle with my partner, who's also my life partner. So it's, it's an ongoing daily battle, and trying not to be that traditional necessarily bike shop, right? I mean, we are a traditional bike shop. We're pretty much as traditional as it gets, right? Everything. There isn't a thing that we don't fix, look at, talk to, try and do, educate on, but there has to be the newer thoughts coming in. And I feel like anytime I'm in groups like this, it's always the women. We're always the ones that are like, snap to it, brother. It's not 1950. And it's not 1950 and you're treating me like, go back to your kitchen. It's just, it's not 1950. This is how my dad did it. This is how my grandpa did it. This is, and I think they have a little bit harder time moving forward. I don't know. That's my, I jumped into the middle moment.
I love it. I love the Gap. So I know I would get a phone now. I feel it.
Oh, Stacy, where are you?
I still remember everything they taught me. I remember the acronyms, and then, you go work in Bath and Body Works in college. See, classically retail trained.
I came from Sears, so I worked at Sears when I was 15, and that was a very long time ago. I didn't come from a bike background either, or a retail background. I was an accountant up until a year ago. I bought this store. My thing is like I've walked into so many bike stores, and I've bought bikes from so many bike stores, and I don't want anyone to ever feel like how I did when I walked into a bike store. And so when that's the way I look at my customers, and that's, and I try to explain everything. And I think even my background, because I had accounting staff and I was mentoring and, trying to explain how something works. And that's how, I want to be with my customers and my staff. I want to be forthright, open kimono, here's what I think, and I only want you to have the best bike for you. I'm not going to sell you this bike because it's here. I'm going to sell you the best bike for you. And if we don't have it, we don't have it. I'll look online and see, well, the store 15 miles down the road has it. So if you want, I can call them and tell them you're coming. I mean, I would rather do that than, and have a good, have the customer have a good experience, get the bike that they want. And I've had a couple of bike stores call me and back and say, thank you for, as if like, they're like, no one ever does that. Why would you do that? I'm like, well, because I want the customer to have the bike that they want, like that's why. So I was kind of surprised when, they kind of called me out on that, saying, no one ever does that. I'm like, well, maybe we should do it. But and I think I feel that same way about my staff. I really, want them to, they're obviously all a lot younger than I am, different stages of their careers, and, and give them the opportunity to grow in whatever way they want. So I think that experience for me over the past 30 years I've been working in non-bike store world has given me that outlook. So
I forgot that you just took over. I just forgot that you just purchased the store. It was like a year ago. That it's been a whirlwind. Yeah.
it's been a whirlwind.
Jessica, I'm not even sure. What's your role in the industry, and how are you feeling with the conversation tonight?
Hi. I actually have worked with Tamara at the Clean Machine on and off with some breaks to do bicycle tours abroad over the past, I guess it's been a year and a half. But my involvement before ending up here in North Carolina has been, I used to live in Baltimore, which is where I'd started cycle commuting when I lived in Boston, but I really got involved with the community in Baltimore. There was a women's group that would ride every Monday night. There was a community bike shop where they have like an earn a bike program working with youths and adults, kind of a cooperatively run. And I had a lot of friends who were involved in bicycle advocacy in the city, and I was involved a bit in that kind of informally, and that's where I really started to dive in. But I love the bike world. I'm a huge advocate. I'm a big proponent of cycling as transportation and as a means of traveling and discovering the world. And a big part of my life is bicycle touring, which I've done about 7 or 8 big tours. But what I've found in the bike shops that I've gone to over the years is that even though I have a good amount of knowledge for myself, I've had experiences of being intimidated or feeling kind of judged for being where I'm at or for having the bike that I have, which is like, I have a secondhand Surly long haul trucker that I've had for like 10 years and was already 5 years old when I bought it, and it's rim brakes, and like I still get looks with this bike that's taken me all over the world. Like the experience of bringing it into shops and like having people, they can appreciate what it is, but I still get looks like, why do you have this gear range? Or like, why do you have these dumb bar ends and things like that? Like that feeling of like just having to defend myself in a certain way or defend my knowledge. Like I'm all for just eradicating that stigma of being a woman or being viewed as like not knowledgeable or not able to hold my own in it. And I want to do all that I can to equalize the entry for women in biking. It's been a huge thing for me to get friends of mine bicycle commuting and touring if at all possible. So that's my background.
Oh my God. Awesome to have you here. Awesome.
Yeah.
Such a great group tonight. I'm loving this energy. Tamara, you've really just got us to a great spot. Thank you for sharing your story and bringing this wonderful energy to the group tonight.
Yeah.
Pam.
Something Jessica said that kind of ties into like when I talk to people about test rides is making sure that, I think it's important. Like I've actually told people like, they're like, I just want to buy this bike, or like, I don't want to do test ride. And I'm like, dude, test rides are totally non-obligatory. Like, I want you to see how you connect with this thing. But also I've told people like bikes are an extension of you. Which, you know, when Jessica's talking about bringing her bike, Paloma is her name, to another shop, that, you know, not only when she's riding it is an extension of her, but like she's spent so much time on this, it's an extension of her. We had a person come into the shop that was talking about her bike that was stolen and how like emotional of an experience that was. And she was like to put it succinctly, she was like, that bike has spent more time between my legs than any lover ever has. So just to put it into perspective of like what our bikes mean to us.
I'm loving that. I think that's wonderful that you just said that. I think it's awesome. Well, I can't thank you enough. If people
I have a
wanna-
quick question. So like overheard a shop person say this the other day, and it just has like, I can't figure out exactly how to approach it, but it was just like in conversation about clinics and workshops, and they kind of jokingly were like, well, we don't want to have those because then they'll know how to repair their bikes and then we'll be out of a job. And I was like, like, I was almost like, I don't even know how to respond right now, but like, how do you guys, I mean, like approach that? I mean, that to me, that was like classic, like, that's not what we're here for, you know, like.
And you know the education that's necessary to become a mechanic, and then the experience. I mean, I went to UBI 10 years ago. Everything's different. I don't wrench. I know enough not to get in trouble. And taking an hour clinic and learning how to fix a flat or adjust my derailleurs is not going to put a mechanic out of business. It's going to give me the knowledge to save myself out on the road, not have to call a lift or my partner or whatever. And I think it's also better for the mechanics. If I can speak their language in a way that makes sense to all of us, then it's a lot easier for them to do their job. I can help diagnose what's going on with my bike. So that's how I would approach it.
Yeah.
It's just
Also-
adding value.
Also, when they come in, if the person coming in is confident, now you don't have to spend the time connecting with them, like navigating this weird, awkward, no one's talking about this awkwardness interaction. I mean, there's a lot of performance anxiety on both sides when people are bringing their bike in of what's going on. I mean, you have somebody that has an emotional connection with a thing. They don't have all the answers, and there's money that's going to be involved in this. And then you have a person who you don't have a relationship with that's telling you what you need, and it's going to cost money, and they're taking this emotional object from you. So if you recontextualize the bike almost as this extension of this person, it changes that conversation. But also, like, you know, now you can connect with people, connecting with them, as opposed to like navigating this awkward, broken relationship that still exists in this knowing, not knowing, money, risk sphere, which is like, no one likes that. You know, and something that you could tell a mechanic is like probably what, or it often happens, which is like, if you tell people like, go try this thing, like if you want, go, and if you need help, we're here. And guess how often that happens? Like they go and try to fix their thing, and some are super successful, and they're so stoked about you that now if they don't need the thing, they like finding things to buy from you because they still want to support you, or bring you like handles of wild turkey, which, or like, you know, they're sending their friends by, or they get part way and they're like, yeah, I didn't know what I was working with, but now I totally feel okay because they allowed me to be vulnerable and experiment. And I know that they're supportive and are going to help me through this.
It's really good.
I think the other important point is if you have a customer, especially women, I think a lot about women being intimidated by the bike shop setting and how technical it can be. And if you bring a group of women into a shop after hours for an hour or 90 minutes, they now feel comfortable there. They know where everything is. So whether it's a tech clinic or a yoga class or a nutrition seminar with a local club, whatever, you've got them in the space. And now they feel like, this is my shop. I feel okay here. I can go in and I know at least one person to talk to, and I know where the bathroom is. I don't have to ask that awkward question. So
Mhm.
I think it's good just to bring people in.
Agree. I totally agree. Oh my God, I could keep talking all night long. I just love this conversation. This is awesome. Would you share your contact in the chat? Maybe your email if people wanted to follow up with you, or?
Totally.
Awesome. Thank you for making the time tonight to join us. I think most everyone here is in the Facebook group, but we do have a Facebook group. So if you're not in the Women in the Bicycle Industry Facebook group, make sure to join so we can keep it going there. And if anyone wants to present or do or lead a topic one month, let us know. We're organizing our 2022 calendar, and we'd love to just bring people to share their story and I don't know, just jump in there. So thank you tonight. Everyone's been awesome. It's nice to see everyone. Anyone have anything else before we kind of wrap it up, or? No. Awesome. I'm going to give it a minute so everyone can grab those emails out of the chat function. I know. We could
How do
also
you-
email them too, right, Rochelle? Like, I think we have them, don't we? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, if you do that, I don't know how to grab them out of the chat function.
Yeah,
Listen.
I'm like, that's why I said that, because neither do I. I looked at Rochelle, I'm like, I think we need help right now. So yeah, we'll circulate a list out to the people who registered tonight for sure.
Hey,
Have a nice night, everyone. Thank you for joining, and thank you, Tamara, for sharing your story and leading the conversation tonight. It was awesome.
thank
Good
you
night.
for the opportunity.
Thank you so
you.
much.
All right, bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.